just like the people that we work with in the community. They're like, why are you guys doing it? Is there a hidden agenda? And I was like, is it okay just to love people?
Right. Welcome to the Rewrite Your Story with Tasha Joe podcast, where we fearlessly dive into the vast realm of thoughts, ideas, and conversations that know no bounds. Buckle up and prepare for a wild ride as we venture into uncharted territories and explore the unexplored. On this journey, we leave no stone unturned and no topic untouched. Tune in, fasten your seatbelt, and prepare for a roller coaster ride through the vast expanse of human curiosity. Get ready to be amazed, enlightened, and entertained, because on this podcast, there's only one rule. There are no rules. Hello, beautiful friends. On today's episode, I have Austin, my fiance, and he has brought a couple dear friends of his.
Hello. I got Mr. Monk and Bailey Tupai, the father-son duo of the decade here. They own and operate a couple different businesses, actually. And one of them is the Island Hut, which is the bomb of the bomb food, the Islander food. And I've had some. It's amazing. And you guys are actually just right down the street. Island Hut is off of 6th Street. They're kind of by, what is it, like Los Pablolitas or something like that? Hispanic food restaurant. And then the other thing that you guys do, which is completely amazing, is you guys operate a nonprofit, which you guys started together, correct?
Yes.
So the name of the nonprofit, the abbreviation is GBHU, which is, what does that stand for? What does the GBHU stand for?
It stands for God's Broken Home University.
And so just real quick, and we'll get into detail later on, Monk, if you got like a couple minutes, you want to just tell us like where you're from, how you got to where you're at right now?
I'm probably going to have my pops go first because in all reality, it started with my parents. So
For sure.
My name is Bailey Tupai, co-founder of God's Broken Home University. Originally from Honolulu, Hawaii. Got here to the mainland in 1997. As of today, we're sitting in the podcast room about to break down some logistics of what we do as a family.
That's awesome, man. When did you move from Honolulu to here, Bailey?
1997, I was actually kicked out of Honolulu, Hawaii. I had a few charges that was following me.
Yeah.
So I had a 7-year span where I had to stay off the island.
Dang. But I've seen that you've been back since then, though.
Yes, sir.
God is good, man.
Every day.
No doubt. Well, right on. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks, Bailey. And then your son here, Monk, you just want to let him know how you came to be where you are right now.
Man, so, well, my name's Monk. I'm 26. I'm born and raised here in Bremerton. Like my dad said, they moved out here in 97. I was born in 98.
Yeah.
Born and raised Northwest, baby. Man, through my teenage years, I kind of just struggled with trying to understand the things that I went through as a child and my family was going through as I was growing up. I was just kind of in the streets, and then when shit got hard for me and I decided to make my way back home, giving back to the community was kind of the time that my family was on. When I came home from the Washington Youth Academy, my parents had actually opened up the restaurant and hosted our annual festival for the first time while I was in the academy. So when I came home, I kind of had a lot to come home to. Man, I just made a decision to stick by my family and kind of stick it out. So, I mean, like 5 years in the game, my dad put me at the helm of our nonprofit. Sometimes I'm in the back cooking in the kitchen. Sometimes I'm working as a laborer for my brother. Sometimes I'm serving hot meals on a snowy night downtown. So I wear a lot of hats and I do a lot of different things, but I feel like I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now.
So I have a question. How do the three of you know each other?
Well, I have the answer.
Yeah.
So couple things is actually when Monk was getting out of the academy, Bailey and I were driving together. Bailey and I were taxi cab drivers back in the day together, and that's how we originally met. But we actually knew each other a little bit before then because I went to Central Kitsap High School. I graduated in 05, but I always was hanging out with Islanders. You know, there was a bunch of guys that I played football and basketball and all that stuff with that, you know, were from Hawaii. Yeah. And then my oldest brother, Nick, you guys know Nick, Big Nick. Yeah. And he played football with a couple of your cousins. But yeah. And then when I fell off the face of the earth and started making terrible decisions and ended up homeless for a couple homeless stints in and out of jail, but mainly homeless. One was for about a year, and another one was I think about 9 months. The first time Bailey he's always around for all that. And he'd always check in on me and make sure that I had what I needed and things like that. And then the second go around, that's when Monk came back from the academy. And I remember vividly being at 7-Eleven on the east side. I remember you had just gotten out because you had a shaved head. You were all jacked, freaking shredded, bro. Mean mugging, dude. And I remember because I was sitting there talking to your dad. And this is, I think you guys had I want to say it was, I don't know if it was a blue or a red or white. I want to say it was like an Escalade or something like that.
Yeah, we had
on like 24s, bro.
It was that red Hummer.
Oh yeah, the Hummer. Yeah, that's what it was, the Hummer, bro. And I remember I just happened to be there and I seen Bailey, and so him and I were chopping it up, and you had just got back into town or whatever. And then fast forward, I don't know how many years ago. That was what, 12, 13 years ago or something like that. And here we are now, kind of in our own lanes, but moving towards the same direction. You guys are freaking leading the charge as far as the homeless situation goes, making sure they have what they need. And then also with GBHU and then Island Hut providing meals for not just the nonprofit, but the homeless, but also you guys have some other things going on. So
Yeah, so what all do you guys do?
Man, that's like
What don't you do?
that's like I don't know. I mean, so this year kind of is actually pretty good because me and my son kind of backed up, and right now, as of this moment, what we do is we do rental assistance, and rental assistance gives us an avenue to get into the homes without getting into the homes, and actually addressing a lot of underlying conditions that's stemming from why the kids are doing what they're doing. Monkey has a lot of hats, and he's like not divulging a lot of the stuff that he's, as far as certificates and how he works with. But the beautiful part about working with my son is we bridge the gap. There's nothing from Monk's age group that I need to be educated on because I don't know everything, and he kind of knows that us old heads, we like to operate the old-fashioned way, but he enlightens me, and he tells me, Dad, that's just not the way things happen now. It's not like the old days. So there's a beautiful chemistry there, and so whenever he needs me, he tags me in, or whenever I need him, I tag him in. And I have 5 sons. A lot of them want to be a part of it, but Monk tells them, you guys don't want to smoke with Dad, because there's days where we just like, it's terrible. The days are going and the things that we're doing in the day, where we kind of balance each other out. Like, I need to hear his voice, or he needs to hear my voice. And then boom, we go back to our families, like his mom and stuff. So I can back it up to COVID. When COVID kicked off, we just launched Island Hut. It's a little hole in the wall. My wife is the cook in the back, and we basically just fit in, get in where we fit in. When the governor told us to shut the doors, we had under the bed money that we had saved up, but we were all like, man, if we're going to die, why don't we do something good? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the mentality that we were on, actually. So we move as a unit. A lot of the folks that would come and eat there, they were disclosing to us that on the bus routes for school for the kids, they weren't receiving their sack lunches. And these are caregivers that basically are raising their mom and dads or their kids, and their grandparents, caregivers, aunties, uncles. So they were like, there's no more bus route, the schools are shut down. So what we did, we started with 50 free kid lunches. Eventually turned into 30,000 free kid lunches. Wow. We started a 7-day ministry down on Salvation Army with local businesses, like even with Austin and Kevin and all the boys in local restaurants. And we started a 7-day ministry because they were closing all the shelters. So, I mean, man, we did like thousands of brand new blankets, tents. We didn't care, so we're supplying that. Yeah. And then the community started to get even worse because the regulations was like, we don't know when we're going to reopen. People started losing jobs, so Monkey and I reached out to his auntie who owns a trucking company in Seattle, and I asked her, why are you guys getting all this food abundance and you guys are not leaving Bremerton? Why isn't Kitsap County getting? She was like, you guys aren't on the map. So we got on the map. We took our nonprofit over there. They found out that we're a legitimate 501c3. We did over 15 million pounds of free food.
That's incredible.
In the community. And then judges was getting involved. State representatives wanted to know who was doing it. And they would come to the laborers that was handing the boxes in the people's food. And they're like, Monk, who's doing this? And Monk was like, Jesus. They come and ask me, they're like, who's in charge of this food ministry? We were doing like 600-700 cars every Thursdays for almost 2.5 years straight. We did reach out for volunteers, but we felt obliged that we needed to just go out and do it ourselves. Because I feel that, asking somebody to come volunteer their time,
Yeah.
taking away from their family. So we were out there, rain, storm, sunny and all. And our reward at the end of the day was basically the caregivers that come through the line. I mean, man, we had moms crying. They're like, you don't even know what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And so that was, for me, that was medicine. Through whatever we were going through as a community, as a village, it was medicine for me. And my kids was kind of like, they were like even asking me, like a lot of my nephews was like, Uncle, why is this guy driving up with a Maserati? I was like, your job is to shut up. Your job is to put the food in the person's car. You don't even know. So I grabbed one of my nephews and I was go ask that old man, why is he driving a 2020 brand new Raptor truck? Go ask him why he's getting food. And if he gives you the answer you're looking for, and he goes there and he said, my daughter has leukemia. She cannot come and get food. And with this food abundance, I can give her and my grandkids food. And you guys don't know how much I really appreciate you guys. And here's a check for $500 for you and the guys. So we give it to the truck driver, but my nephew's demeanor just changed.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, he wanted to slap himself, And
Yeah,
I
you
was
never know
like,
someone's
no,
story.
right. So I was like, don't worry, boy. I was just like that. You know what I mean? I had to all like, why is he coming over here? He's not deserving. But through God, I was like, I had my own humble moments. So I want to pass that on to you. So with that being said, Monk kind of has the boys following that path. And sometimes we do have to give them in parables, because if you tell them all the truth right away, they eventually hate you. Just like the people that we work with in the community. They're like, why are you guys doing it? Is there a hidden agenda? And I was like, is it okay just to love people?
Right.
Because I need that love just as much as they need my love.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know that somebody actually cares for them.
Yeah.
Because there was people that did that for me. So my way of repaying that, and my way of my son to repay it to his homeboys, because it's so easy to do the bad shit now.
Yeah.
Monk can go out around with his homeboys, and they can just pull out guns and just start shooting. It's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
But I bet you can't. It's so hard to go put a box of food in the old lady's trunk and look at her face and be like, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of what we did. We do have a gang intervention, gang prevention program. I let Monkey speak more on that, because he's got like a curriculum that I also follow too, because I use on my adults that come through my door, that I help try to like open the light for them too. So
Yeah.
There's a curriculum, and there's a lot of trainings and stuff I've been through. But I think that at the end of the day, when it comes to this line of work, your experiences are what are most supplemental to you being effective in this line.
Most definitely.
So, I mean, just like my dad said, like, I did everything with my homeboys. Like, when I decided to hop out the streets, like, I took my boys with me. You know what I mean? Whether that meant staying in my mom's house, all 5 of us in my bedroom together, we did that. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
but as far as the gang intervention stuff goes, I mean, for me, it took a lot of self-reflection to kind of determine and dictate what I felt like young kids in the community needed to want to veer away from the streets. So for me, it was like, I had to look at my own home like, okay, I have 2 parents. My best friend doesn't. This young kid doesn't. They have similarities in their behavior in this way, and I don't act that way. So I feel like that's where, like, it's really a family initiative. Like, when I bring 20 kids to the block, and they get to talk to my mom about things that they've never had an opportunity to talk to their mom about, or they get to talk to my dad and get a fatherly response, or they get to talk to me or one of my homies and get an older brother kind of response. I feel like it just built, like, we were building a family for people who didn't have one.
Yeah.
So the curriculum is cool, and all of that stuff's required. When you're a 501c3, you have to have a plan and all these things, but at the end of the day, when it comes to being able to really, like, touch people's hearts and reach them, you have to know what they're coming from. You have to have walked that path before. So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, most definitely.
So, how can the community get more involved with what you guys do?
well, like my dad said, this past year we've been kind of quiet. we were making a shit ton of noise ever since COVID. So, I mean, we
Me
kind of
too.
just decided to try to.
Take a breather for once.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, dang man, I don't mean to cut you off, but every time I stop in from time to time, but every time on social media, you guys are always getting into something.
Yeah.
Something to help the community, something that doesn't benefit you guys, except for in regards to how Bailey, you explained it, which is giving back to the community is medicine. And the giving back to the community portion of it is it doesn't just stop there, because then what it does is it starts to sprout and grow wings, and then it starts to take off. And then before you know it, you go from 30 pounds or 300 pounds of food to 30 million pounds of food or whatever it was. This was probably 3 years ago. Maybe I was in business for a year and a half, 2 years tops. I would see you guys down off of 6th and Park behind 7-Eleven with barrels for fire,
Yes, sir.
tents, like 40, 50, 60-foot lines of tables and double tables. And it would be backpacks, canned food, socks, toothbrush, mouthwash, gear. Even at one point in time, I think you guys were giving away recycled phones and things like that.
Yeah.
And it was like just so people could reach out to their families during the holiday, you know, find a Wi-Fi somewhere and tell them that they're okay, because they didn't have that before. You know, so I don't know like what that looks like as far as between GBHU and the gang intervention. And I know you guys do a lot of stuff with helping people come out of jail and prison and house them. And then also with Island Hut and with, you know, everything that you guys have going. Like, is there like an easy way for a website or phone numbers or something like that? So it's like, hey, if I'm somebody who is listening to this right now, then I can say, hey, a car I want to donate, right? Because you guys are a 501(c). So if I have an old Honda Civic that's a 2001 that's got 200,000 miles on it and still runs good, but I know that you guys probably have somebody who's coming out of prison or jail or a single mom or somebody like that who could use it, they can donate it to you guys and then they can get a tax write-off for that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So if there's things like that you guys know of that would benefit the community in a way that would make an impact immediately, do that, because that's what Tasha wants to make sure that she's collabing with you guys and making sure that you guys have everything that you need.
Right now, we have a lot of like toothpaste and just like hygiene pack stuff at the shop, and my dad has volunteers come in and build the packs out in Ziploc bags. So that's like toothpaste, women's hygiene stuff. I don't know the details, so
Especially around the winter time, the winter snap.
Sleeping
That's when with sleeping bags, hand warmers. We have abundance of socks, so we'll probably never run out of socks.
That's good.
And I just went and picked up a whole bunch of brand new little tents and stuff for them. About 300 of them last week. I handed them all out. Just around the winter time, majority is when I get real. Something like bothers me when I go home and sleep at night, just knowing. But there is a lot of local people in the community that does amazing work. I'm not gonna sit here and try to toot my horn and be like it's only us or whatever. There is amazing people, and there's another one called Rock the Block that has that doctors, lawyers, and stuff. Like they want to be low key with it, but it's our little personal group. So whenever the Batman signal goes in the sky, one of them gets activated and they start going out and doing their thing.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
I
man.
mean, that's basically, everybody's help, because everybody brings their own special thing to the pot. Like my grandma used to say, the ingredients is food to the people's soul. So what you bring to the table, I can't bring, but what I bring also is important. So if we value each other's efforts, we can fix this problem, because we know the system alone doesn't want it. It's a revolving door. It's a machine that's never going to go away. But us as a community, us as people, us as humans, as brothers and sisters in this fight together, we can remedy and fix all of this. We don't really need the outside external stuff. We as a community, as the people, can do this.
Yeah.
This effort
100%.
together. Like, it's crazy because we were at Salvation Army and there was a lady. She was handing out sandwiches and stuff and a tomato soup. And it was me, Monk, and Bell, and we were over there doing jackets that night. And I went over there and I was like, oh, thank you for the sack lunch. And then she went down, she left. Like, she literally walked away from me, like mad or something. And she went down to Monk and Bell, and she was down there, and Bell was like, hey, hi, Jen, how you doing? She's like, hi. I was handing out sack lunches, but there's this church guy up there, big old Samoan dude. He's handing out jackets, and I didn't want to invade his space or whatever. And then after Bell, Monk's wife was like, "That's my father-in-law. He would never ever make you feel out of place like that."
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Well, I gave him a sandwich, and my atheist thing is in the bag." And so then I came down while overhearing what she said, and I was like, "You know what? This sandwich is amazing." And she just almost started crying. I got to know her. We're good friends now. And then we started an organization where I have several Christian. I have people who's from the Mormon church. I got a couple people who believe in atheism, all different denominations. But I told them when we had a big meeting in my shop was, if there's one thing that we can all agree on, can we all agree on love?
Yeah.
And everybody was like,
100%.
"Yes, sir, Bailey." And I was like, "Let's go." To
Yeah.
me, that's what Jesus is. I'm not going to force my Jesus onto you, whatever you
Yeah.
believe. But we do believe each other,
Yeah.
that we're out here in this community because of love.
That's awesome, man, and I agree with you. And that's kind of what, and we can get into that a little bit. But so real quick, so so coming up, we have, obviously it's going to be winters coming up if we're not, or we're very close.
Are
Sleeping
you looking
bags.
for volunteers?
Not necessarily volunteers. There's a lot of people in the community who like to get involved around this time, and they know what time it is when it comes around. So,
Yeah.
sleeping bags, blankets, like things that you would envision you would need if you had to sleep on a sidewalk in the snow. Gloves, hand warmers. I saw some big ass hand warmers last year that people were donating. They were like this.
Yeah, gloves, just all that stuff. Because I remember, like, man, it's hard out there for people who are homeless, and that's, and you know, and again, we can get into that a little bit later. But so is there website or phone numbers? You guys, who do people contact? Who do they ask for? How do they get a hold of you? Email, all that stuff. So that as far as like your guys' stuff with the nonprofit goes, how do they do that?
If you just go on Google, type in God's Broken Home University, it'll probably pull up our Facebook page, but it'll pop up with our address and my phone number, actually.
Okay.
My cell phone number. I usually don't answer numbers that I don't have saved in my phone, so a text always works. But if you message the Facebook page, I'm pretty responsive there.
Yeah, you guys are off of 6th,
Yes.
off of 6th Street in Bremerton,
Yes.
Washington.
2506 6th Street, Bremerton, Washington, 98312.
Cool. And then right next door is Island Hut. So if you guys are hungry, snag a couple of plates from Mrs. Tupai. So what else you got, babe?
What are some misconceptions about homelessness? And any of you could answer that.
Come on.
I can tell you firsthand for that one.
Come on.
I would say this is that most people from the outside looking in, right? If you're middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class, or even upper, it doesn't matter where you're from. But if you drive by Sixon Park or you drive by Skid Row in LA and you see thousands and thousands of tents and thousands of people, and it almost looks like an apocalyptic, like District 9 type situation, you know, where it's just like there's aliens running around and like people are freaking broomsticks are in the air. People are flying around. There's freaking drug deals, prostitution, all that stuff going on. Right. Mm-hmm. And you like most people just it's too much for them to the only thing that they can think about is how, you know, either how does it get to that point? If they're even able to get to think about that, or even prior to that thought is that's disgusting. Those people are sick. Mm-hmm. How could they ever let themselves get to that point? What I can tell you this, I would say 60 to 80%, and this is bro science Austin numbers right here, right?
Yeah.
You might want to Google to actually find out the numbers, but it's like, I would say 60 to 80% of people who are homeless on the street are for sure addicted to drugs, I would say. And I mean real homeless, because the reason why I know this is because I used to rub shoulders with them. I knew all of them. Dude. Like, I talked to all of them. I've bought and sold drugs to them. You know, I've done drugs with them. And I know for a fact that I never met a homeless person that didn't do drugs unless they were mentally from the beginning. Like if they were like you know, there's a couple people, I'm thinking of a couple people in mind right now that didn't do drugs, but they were homeless, but they got like SSI or whatever, you know, they got like $1,000 a month or something like that. And maybe they were able to pay for a hotel like 2 weeks out of the month. And then they would just go through that cycle of like being in a hotel for half the month and then being homeless for the second half of the month. But outside of that, everybody else is on drugs. But what people don't understand is that how did those people get addicted to drugs? Well, I can tell you this. They didn't just, I would say 99% of them that are addicted to drugs did not just one day say, hey, it would be a good idea to put a needle in my arm and inject heroin. Now it's fentanyl and people are dying all over the place. If you're living a good life and you're doing this or doing that, you're working, you're a normal human being, a productive member of society, it's not just a good idea all of a sudden to do heroin. You know what I mean? It's something happened before that. And it's usually a combination of things like, okay, how's this for an example? I'm walking down the stairs one day. I'm a middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class, doesn't matter. And I slip, fall down the stairs, and I snap my ankle. Okay, I got to go to the doctor. Doctor prescribes me what? Vicodin, Percocet, oxycodone. And back in the day when all this popped off and it was a huge thing, was OxyContin, right? So then, or you break your hip or your femur. And I knew all of these situations are situations that I actually knew about from people. I knew somebody who broke their hip, their femur. I know somebody who freaking snapped their neck, and they all got started on drugs because they were prescribed pain medication. All of a sudden their doctor yanked it out from underneath them. It's like, well, if you've ever been through opiate withdrawals, and this is to the listeners, if anybody out there's ever been through opiate withdrawals, you guys understand how freaking horrific it is. I would say I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemies, how bad it is, how terrible it is, because you want to die. You want to die because it hurts so bad. It's like the worst cold, flu, and sickness, illness that you could ever imagine, then multiply that by 100. That's what opiate withdrawals feels like. So when you see people who are out there addicted to heroin, the chances is that they got prescribed pain medication, either lost their insurance, lost their means of funds to pay for their prescription, or the doctor yanked it from them. Well, guess what? Now they got to figure out how to continue to move forward with their life. And the chances are, if they have a job, they need to keep their job. So they got to figure out how to continue to pay or find opiates. Because if they stop, it's going to be a week or two, depending on how much they're doing, of complete and total misery. Right?
You might die.
And you might die. You know, you might die from it. So there's that. Not to mention the shame and guilt comes from your family and the misconception of people understanding in the past trauma. The reality is those people were just like any of us in this world who just wanted to grow up, raise a family, get a good job, and be productive members of society. But what happened was life came through with the wrecking ball of opiates via a doctor, you know, and then they're now dealt with the situation. So then they have to continue to pay for that. And then what happens is they lose their job and they can't afford the pills anymore. And then they find out through other people who have already been down this road that, oh, there's something called heroin, or now it's fentanyl, and it's way cheaper than buying Percocet or oxycodone or Vicodin or whatever it is. So they start doing that. And then before you know it, they're dead, or they've overdosed multiple times, or they're homeless on 6th and Park or at Skid Row. And you have 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are selling their body to pay for their opiate addiction because of a doctor who this young woman was a freaking track star, probably was going to have a full ride scholarship to a D1 school somewhere in the nation, and then broke her freaking leg at the end of a race and got prescribed pills. And now she's homeless on Skid Row in Los Angeles, California, and she's a prostitute. So before people look at homeless people and they judge them, think about that. Think about the fact that if you have kids, your kids are just as much at risk as those people that you're looking at. So I would say the biggest misconception, to bring it back around to Tasha's question, is homeless people are just like us. They have mothers, they have fathers. Some of them have daughters and sons, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, families. And if you went up to them and asked them, if I went up to a homeless person right now and I asked them and I said, if I could give you a way out right now, a painless way out, and snap my fingers to where you could be off drugs, not be homeless, and be back into a position where you could have a job, have your kids back or whatever, which homeless person in the right state of mind, right, is going to say, I'd rather just be sleeping in 30-degree weather, freezing my fingertips off. And by the way, I don't have any toenails because of frostbite. Nobody's going to say that if they're in the right frame of mind. And so the misconception is homeless people aren't homeless people because they chose that life. Yes, they did. But like that choice, guaranteed you would make the same choice that they made. And it's very few who don't. There's very few people who are fortunate enough to have the money to support their habit, have the money to pay for a private medicated detox to go to in some other state for 6 months and have breakfast in bed and have an IV and have anti-anxiety medication given to them while they're going through withdrawals. But that's not the people that we deal with on a daily basis. Not people like us where we're low income, we're on food stamps most of our lives, or we're hand-me-downs from our brothers, sisters, cousins, or friends that we know, shoes, things like that. What you guys are providing, and that's who we're dealing with, you know? And so I would say just for people who drive by Sixth and Park, who drive by just behind 7-Eleven, who drive by the east side or the west side, or even parts of now, it's like a Port, it's everywhere, it's getting worse, is why don't you pray for those people? Why don't you pray for those people and thank God that your kids or your family members haven't had to have something happen so traumatic in their life where they're now in that position. And then even one step further is call Monk or Bailey.
Man, that just reminded me too at the end, like that's something my pops talks about, because we do a lot of presentations around like why people should get involved. And he calls it the doormat diaries, but people don't ever want to get involved until it's at their doorstep, or it's in their home, and it's one of their kids, or it's their wife or their husband. Mm-hmm. Then people want to get involved. There's a lot of preventative measures to things like this in community, and if everybody's able to join arms and grab a paddle and paddle with us, then we could probably put a stop to a lot of the shit that's going on. But people procrastinate and they don't see the value in being a part of it until it's immediately affecting them. Yeah, kind of just like what Austin was just saying. I mean, being out there and rubbing elbows with these people for the past 5 years, they're just like us. People, I ask them all the time, and this one guy was like, I was an operator most of my life. I have 5 kids. I had a big house, me, my wife, and my kids, and I was doing my thing, and that's exactly what happened to him. He broke his ribs, and they gave him some Vicodin, and he wasn't able to shake the shit after that. And he was an old man by the time I met him, and I don't know where he is now, but it could be a story just as simple as that. But at GBHU, we take it a little further, and we kind of dive into people's, like, unhealed trauma and stuff, because I feel like a lot of that ties into people's addiction, too, so. But that's a pretty big story to tell, so.
Yeah. Well, and what Tasha, and then I gotta jump out of here, so I'll let you guys finish, but one thing I want to say before I leave is that's what Bailey, you said something, we're trying to bridge the gap. You guys talk about bridging the gap. And that's what Tasha's trying to do here. It's an honor to even be able to be on the microphone and share the microphone with you guys and with her. But bridging the gap is this idea that as a large population of people, we start finding the things that we don't have in common, and then we go after each other for it, versus the 99% of what we do have in common. We're human beings. We have children, we have families, we love people, we want to help people. But then when you mix in social media and elections and religion and all of these things that have been man cranked and stepped on and just perverted, really.
It's just like the pills, bro.
And you get that, and then all of a sudden, now you have people who normally, without those things I just listed, they're going to be the best of friends. They're going to help each other. They're going to love each other. They're going to babysit the neighbor's kids. They're going to watch the dog. But we get so consumed with the idea of what's right and what's wrong based upon what we see and hear and feel that aren't really even necessarily our own thoughts or ideas. And you guys are bridging this gap. Tasha, Bailey, Monk, and you guys are stepping in and saying, hey, enough is enough. And we want to make sure that you guys can think for yourself, that you can have an opportunity, a workshop here at Mystic or at GBHU to talk about your past trauma, because it's that important to understand where all of this is stemming from. Why we made certain decisions when we were 7 years old to where we're 15 to 25 to 37, 38, 30, whatever. Yeah. And I know, Tasha, you're getting ready to make a switch here, and I'll let you get into that. But I'm going to get out of here because I got to go train, because I got to fight on December 21st.
Yes,
and you guys
sir.
better all be there.
Clearwater Casino.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. You guys enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Love
Thanks,
you, bro.
Monk and
Love you,
Bailey.
bro.
Thank you guys for being
Love
here.
you.
See you guys. Love you. Yep.
Love you, bro.
One of my questions is, what challenges have you guys faced?
Oh.
Because there's always got to be challenges, right?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like our food drive giveaway with the semi trucks, they were kind of saying that we're saturating the community now, and they're not able to get back out, and local small businesses and stuff aren't able to with that food program. They said that we were enabling the folks down by MLK by going on there and feeding them, and then they turn around and whatever financial assistance they get, they can use it towards drugs, just a whole bunch of stuff. And that's kind of why we pulled back a lot this year, not pulled back out from the service work, but kind of like strategically figuring out ways of moving without them putting restrictions on what we're doing. We actually did turn away a $500,000 proviso that was designated for our program, specifically from the legislature. And we told them to take their money and shove it, because we felt like it was nothing to do with the community.
It's not authentic.
Yeah, it wasn't authentic. It was kind of like so that they can go and try and build a program. And there were several other programs that came along our side and kind of like stuck the knife on the side of me and my son, because they were trying to go out and start similar to our program. And then it went sideways. Then they eventually got the money. Now they got to answer to the legislature, and we're still doing the community work.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, it's when you love to do something,
Yep.
nobody can stop you from doing what you're doing.
Amen. That's me.
Yeah, and so I think that's why he's working his own magic to bring certain individuals together, because he knows that the people are here for the people.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is.
When you have faith and you believe in what you do and you love what you do.
Yes.
I mean, I know I just met you guys tonight, but I was a barista for 16 years, and I started this was never part of my plan, and everybody thought I was crazy. Like, what are you doing? You've never done this. Quit my job, sold my house, divorced my ex-husband, and I believed in it so much because I've always had such a passion for helping people. And here I am in my third location, expanded 3 times in the last 5 years. We're coming up on our 5-year anniversary in 2 weeks, and I've been winging it, but I've had that faith, and just I love seeing the transformation in people healing, and like you said, preventative. That's where I'm going now. It's like with children, not wait till they're traumatized. Let's do the preventative work, because I'm the one over here healing from all the trauma, and we want to stop that. So
that's basically our job now as the adults, because we don't understand what mom and dad or grandma and grandpa went through, right? So it's our job as the next caregivers. Just like I tell my son and my other boys, it's our job. So when I'm done and I clock out, I prepare you guys for dad's death, but then you guys take it up a notch and keep breaking down that childhood trauma and that generational curse that was put upon us. And then you guys get to dictate and move the way you guys do. And then now we're actually seeing results with my grandkids. The way the uncles them are with them, the way the aunties are with them. I mean, still the disciplinary, but it's healthy disciplinary, you know? It's not like get smacked upside of your head because I have a hangover or something. Or forget to take you to school, or don't put you in a car seat, stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
because when you heal yourself, you are healing your parents, your like generations. And because I grew up in a household where we would scream and fight, and when I started doing all the healing, I'm like, no, I don't want to operate that way. I want to be able to communicate. And I've noticed from all my healing over the last years, watching my family members observe, and so it's like a ripple effect. Yeah. And so you guys have been doing this for 5 years now?
Well, I mean, It's been taking place ever since I can remember being young. Like even on Thanksgiving and stuff, just regularly, my family would want to go down the street and feed whoever we see might need it. But in 2020 is when we formalized our nonprofit. And just what you were saying too about winging it, I relate with you because like we're no college professors, we
Yeah.
have no PhDs, but
No.
we just
We wing shit too.
yeah. We're
Yep.
online like Googling how do I start a nonprofit 3, 4, 5 years later, still being afloat and our nonprofit still being active is like a big win for us.
Wait,
So, I mean,
2020. So I started November 19, right before COVID hit.
yeah.
So you guys were right around that same
We
time?
were in October
Yeah.
2020.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wow.
October 10th actually, I remember that date.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
we were kind of winging it too even
I'm still winging it.
yeah. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but
And it sounds like you guys have a lot of, and over the last 5 years, just adding more things and doing.
well, I mean, so as I was younger, my dad and my mom were kind of trying to do a lot of it on their own. Like, my dad had a construction company. My mom was a cook for a long time. And now that all of us boys are older
Yeah.
and we're able to contribute and figure out which one of these lanes we want to jump into and help with, is kind of the way it's working out. So my older brother, Bailey, my dad's junior, he runs the construction side of things.
Okay.
The nonprofit my dad gives to me to kind of lead. And then with the restaurant, it's a family thing. These seeds that my parents planted, we're able to water them
Yeah.
now, so
That's beautiful.
yeah.
So do you guys have anything else in the works? Any upcoming?
We've got a turkey giveaway. We just got the flyer made, so let me just pull it up so I don't. We've got a turkey giveaway going on November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay. And what is that exactly?
So pretty much we're going to have a bunch of frozen turkeys.
Okay.
And we are going to hand them out at our location right down the street off of 6th Street. And we've been doing that for a few years now, so.
Awesome. Last night, me and a girlfriend went and passed out a ton of food and sandwiches. We made like pots of macaroni and cheese, and we were asking everybody like, hey, do you want mac and cheese or a sandwich? And everybody was like mac and cheese, blankets.
Yeah.
They just want anything that's going to get them warm,
Yes.
So yeah, and we do have a lot of people here who are wanting to get more involved, and that's something that, in what ways can we help? What can we do?
Yeah, we collect supplies. We could stock you up with supplies too.
That would be awesome, because that's where we're at right now. We have a group of us who are wanting to just
Yeah.
nonstop, but we don't have enough because we just started kind of
We
announcing
got
it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Don't worry about it. You guys got your
Awesome.
work cut out
Yeah.
for you.
I
so.
will come there, swoop it up, and we will.
Yeah.
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 So, my last question, you guys are a nonprofit. We are actually in the process of switching to a nonprofit. What advice do you guys have for people who are wanting to start a nonprofit?
Advice.
I know.
Like I was saying too, we're kind of we've been winging it for some time, but I'll just say keep your eyes wide open. You have to stay on top of your DOR and the Secretary of State, and then other than that, funding opportunities for you to get some money to do what you want to do, and build you a team that you can trust and has the same drive as you.
That right there.
And figure out what their strengths are. Bring them all to the table and figure out how you guys can make this shit happen. So if there's any advice I could give you, that's it.
It's all hard work. And if your heart's in the right place, you're probably going to just blow up. And just know that as soon as you become a threat, because a lot of people have the misconception about nonprofit organizations
Yep.
being a money grab, but at the end of the day,
We know where our heart's at.
You
Right.
know where the heart's at, right? And we do also need funding to keep the lights and
Yeah.
the bills paid. So, if they're not involved with you personally, then I suggest you just keep going with what you're doing.
Yeah. Knowing that your intentions are pure.
Yes,
And yeah,
yes,
that's how I've always
yes.
operated.
And stay out the politics.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
I don't do politics. I couldn't even hold a conversation.
No, yeah, a lot of, just even like the inner city community politics, like people will start to want to offer their 2 cents and opinion about you and
Yeah.
what you do and how you do it, and even how they are making it seem like it affects their work and things like that.
Yeah.
That exactly. So that's why I'm saying, just like you were saying, if you know where your heart's at, then just
Yeah.
stick to it.
I
Don't let
went through
nobody
that whole
bring you
phase
down.
of people projecting, having their opinions,
Yeah.
and luckily I spent a lot of time working on triggers and shadows, and I used to
Man.
react, and now I just respond. I'm like, okay, this has nothing to do with me.
Right.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have any last things you want to share, or?
Man, it was a pleasure sharing this space with you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Austin's an awesome guy, man.
He's great. I know.
Yeah.
He's
And
amazing.
what you got here is amazing. It's comfortable.
Thank
Yes.
you. It's
Yeah.
cozy.
The vibe is
Yeah.
cozy,
Right? That's
you
what the
know?
one thing everybody says. It's a vibe here. And this place is huge. It's 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, that's a
When
lot.
you like on the outside, it doesn't look that big.
Right.
But then you go down all the hallways, and I haven't even given you guys the tour yet to show you how big it really is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, once I started this, it's changed and it continues to change, but I love what I do. I love it so much, and Mystic has become a home for the community. People just come here to hang out or read a book, and so I'm always like, what else can we bring in? So I definitely love collaborating with people, and what else can we bring to the community?
Yeah, you gotta get your nonprofit sector up off the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a hub too.
That's what matters. So yeah, this is a beautiful space.
Thank you.
I feel comfortable. Usually when I walk in spaces, I feel uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
That's my one specialty is whether it's my house or
Yeah.
the shop. I have always wanted to create a warm, inviting atmosphere that people just come in. They don't have to know you, and they just, oh, this is cozy.
Yeah.
I can sit down and kick my feet up. And I tell everybody, lighting is huge too, as you see. Like I'm all about the dim
Yeah.
lighting, the ambiance.
No, plus she was with Austin, so I was like, man, she gotta be down to
Yeah.
earth. And Austin is like, you
Yeah,
know,
Oh, for
he's
sure.
like, yeah, he's, you know, so
Yeah.
I was like, that's what's up, man.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. We'll
Thank you.
definitely have to do another episode and let me know any upcoming events that I can let everybody know about. So,
Right on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us.
of course, we will see you all soon.